Okay, and we're back. Let's get into hour number 3, go over to Tokyo, and talk to Ben Fulford. We're going to get a bird's eye look from Ben about the current state of affairs in Tokyo, where, as you know, they have found radioactivity in the Tokyo sewage sludge in the wastewater treatment plants, at least one location, that rivals that of wastewater treatment plants that have been also identified as being radioactive in the Fukushima prefecture, in the area of the plant, but actually outside of it. It's a big story. Meanwhile, another prefecture, the governor of that prefecture said that he will not test his tea, his bulk tea crop. There's nothing wrong with it. There's no reason to. And he had 10-year-old children go out and pick it, and then they got to eat some tempura made from it, like they had a choice. Things are getting crazy over there. The economy of Japan is obviously in very serious condition. I don't know how to articulate it much better than that because I'm not a financial expert. We do cover the stories. They're hard news. There's just an awful lot of very sad things underway there. Ben, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Listen, I'm sorry, but I have to disagree with you completely on all
Well,
that.
you're not. Now, it's not me. All I'm doing
I
is...
have my own Geiger counter, and I'm telling you, it's still the same here in my
No,
house.
but Ben, wait a minute. No one said that Geiger counters were needed. This is a story from the Japanese press.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was...
about the sewage sludge story.
Okay.
They're finding this stuff. You could find it when they, this is probably just illegal disposal of medical equipment, if you ask me. But the news coverage here is very thorough, very exact, very scientific, and
well, all it does is parrot the lies.
I'm not worried, and you, as far as I'm concerned, are panic mongering on this issue big time, and you should not be doing so.
No, hold on. No, wait a minute. Hold on.
I want to get my word out here. You interrupt me too much, Mr. Rense.
Okay, turn him down. Turn him down.
The economy here is the damage happened. Okay, economic statistics.
Ben, you can't turn him down. You're not allowed to make accusations and then walk all over whoever it is. If you want to make an accusation on this program, you can then stand back and allow a response. I am reporting the news from Japan sources, from international sources, from individuals such as Yoshi Shimatsu in Hong Kong. I'm not making this up. No one suggested you needed a Geiger counter in Tokyo. No one suggested the air in Tokyo was radioactive. I mentioned a radioactive reading in a sewage treatment plant in Tokyo that rivaled the amount in Fukushima Prefecture. Those are facts. Now go ahead, Ben.
All right. Now the point, I just quickly on the economy, because I have much more important things to talk about as far as I'm concerned. But just on the economy, what happened is the damage took place all in a matter of a couple of hours.
Right.
After that, the statistics will measure that a month, 2 months, 3 months from now. But it's already over. And what's happening now is the reconstruction. So, the
reconstruction of what, Ben? Excuse me, I'm not following you. Reconstruction of what?
What I'm trying to say is that when the people in the markets, they get a statistic about the Japanese production being down, or the GDP going minus or stuff, right?
Right.
What they're doing is measuring what happened several months ago. And that what happened several months ago happened within an hour or two. Okay?
Certainly less than 24 hours, understand, yes.
Yeah, okay. So the point is that the damage took place in a very short period of time, and a lot was destroyed. Factories were destroyed, homes were destroyed, all that was destroyed. And that happened, and that happened all at once, and it was a very tragic thing. But from the economic point of view, when you look at statistics now and you think, oh, Japan's economy is in trouble, then you're missing the reality, which is the trouble ended in a 24-hour period, and what happens now is the reconstruction. What that means is they're going to have to build lots of houses, they're going to have to fill those houses with appliances, they're going to have to build new roads, they're going to have to rebuild factories. So, in other words, the future is not gloomy. It's just a nasty thing happened in the past. So people need to understand that Japan is not in trouble, and it's not in such a deep mess.
Okay, I admire what you're saying, but...
As far as I'm concerned...
All right. Go ahead.
Is the arrest of the head of the IMF on charges of molesting a maid. Now,
well, they got it nailed with DNA, but the guy was obviously, he had a predilection for sexual escapades that was well known, and he may have been set up, we don't know that. But please, since you're in Tokyo and in Japan, I need you as a resource and an asset here to help us understand. Now,
yeah, but I'm involved in stuff. Look, you need to understand something. I'm directly involved with the people who organized the Strauss-Kahn's arrest, okay? I'm not reading about it on the Internet. I'm talking to people who arranged the arrest. And if you do not understand about me and the position I'm in, then you don't know what's going on.
Well, how can I if you don't tell us?
Well, I'm telling you.
Well, right just now, lower your voice and calm down and be methodical about it.
Strauss-Kahn is part of an ongoing battle over the future of the financial system, which you know about the SDR, special drawing rights, and about the dollar and the euro crisis. Okay?
Sure.
This is very, very historical, important stuff, and I really need to explain this week because it's coming to a head. What people need to understand is that most of the euros and dollars being printed in recent years are not backed by anything real.
Right.
Okay? And that means that if you look at the old cartoons, the Road Runner sort of, or the coyote in midair who's still running and doesn't realize that there's nothing under him.
Right.
And what happened with Dominique Strauss-Kahn was that they've been trying to get what little money is left, and there's like a fight over the real stuff, the stuff that was actually earned by people making things, putting actual money in the bank, not by created out of thin air by derivatives or other forms of fraud. And my sources, who include people, involved in the Federal Reserve Board and European Central Bank at the highest levels, are telling me that Strauss-Kahn was trying to get his hands on the American Social Security money in order to pay off the euro, the bailout for Portugal and these other countries. Now, you notice they're talking about a new European to head the IMF, maybe a French lady or something.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is that if Europe is to be bailed out, they're going to need to borrow money from Asian countries, from Middle Eastern countries, from countries that actually have money they earn by exporting real things, such as oil and cars and toys.
Right.
And what happened is that the Asian and the other countries of the world have said to the Europeans and to the Americans, look, you guys have been leeching off of us for 30 years now. And when I say that, what I mean is they've run, with the exception of Germany and Northern Europe, they've run external trade deficits for about that long, especially the United States. In other words, they've been buying stuff they can't pay for 30 years. And now everyone has said, we're not going to lend you any more money. You people really need to understand this. So when you talk about a Greek crisis or a Portuguese crisis, it's not a crisis of, some weird financial thing. The fact of the matter is these people have been spending more than they earned, and now they're asking their northern cousins to bail them out.
Right.
And the northern cousins don't have enough money to bail them out.
That's true.
And the Asians aren't going to bail them out.
Let's
or
hope
if they
not.
are, they're going to do it directly. They're not going to do it via a European-controlled institution like the International Monetary Fund.
Is there any link, Ben? Is there any tie-in with Sarkozy and running for the alleged office of President of France?
Well, sure. I mean, Sarkozy had a good interest in having this person, this rival, eliminated. Now, you understand, a lot of these people, molest women all the time, and usually it's covered up.
Right.
So what, the point of view here in Asia is, okay, it's business as usual, but for some reason this time they decided to arrest him over it. There must be a power struggle.
Well, I said that, and I'm sure you did immediately. Why are they letting him swing in the wind? They could have gotten this taken care of. They shouldn't have arrested him on the plane. The plane takes off. It's, no big deal.
Because
You're right.
There's a high-level battle taking place over the control of the financial system, and he was a victim. And there's going to be a lot more victims coming up. And this is the thing, you see, what's happened is that there's been very, very large-scale, high-level fraud involving very, very famous people and we're talking hundreds or thousands of people. And this has been going on for quite a long time, but events are coming to a head. They're going to be setting up an entire new international agency, okay? And I'm involved with this directly. That's what I'm talking about this week. It's going to be an international economic planning agency. And what this new agency is going to do, first of all, it's going to be controlled by the people who actually put up the money, which is not the case with the IMF right now. Asians and the Middle Easterners and whatever put up the money, and people like, little tiny European countries like Belgium get to decide how to spend it.
Do we have a name for this new organization?
Well, I guess, unless we can come up with something better. Right now, the working title is International Economic Planning Agency, IEPA.
Okay. All right. Hold on just a second, Ben. We've got to pause. Take a break. Come right back with Ben Fulford in Tokyo, getting another look at the IMF issue and the behind-the-scenes war over what they call big money. Back in a minute. Back with Ben Fulford from Tokyo. In a world where money is nothing, it's an illusion. We're looking now toward an issue of the Asians having the trump card, the Russians to a degree, and they are the world's number 2 supplier of oil. It's going to be interesting to see. The eyes of the world are on basically the Asian money stash. It's real, a lot of it. And Ben, I assume that many people would like to get their hands on it. Is there an attack coming to try to loosen that money up?
Well, the attack, again, I know you don't necessarily follow this, but the attack to try to loosen it up was the tsunami. And if you go through a newspaper archive, you'll find headlines in the New York Times, Los Angeles Times. I have 20 articles in Japanese papers talking about earthquake weapons. And I have direct intelligence from whistleblowers at different levels who are telling me that they stole 4 nuclear weapons from the submarine Kursk, okay, that sank off the Baltic. And these are out of the control of any particular military. They are controlled by rogue intelligence actors, okay, who are linked to the people who until now had the incredibly juicy right of producing dollars and euros out of thin air. And they smuggled that weapon into a small island off of Okinawa. It was then transported via a fishing boat to Kyushu, and then it was taken by car to a property owned by former Prime Minister Nakasone in Hinodemura. Then it was taken to the basement of the North Korean Citizens Association headquarters in Tokyo, and from there it was transferred onto the deep ocean drilling vessel, the Chikyu Maru. And you will be able to find newspaper articles in Japanese saying that the Chikyu Maru was drilling a hole right at the epicenter of what became the earthquake, starting January 17th of this year. They drilled down 10 kilometers into the seabed, and they put the atomic weapon there. Okay? This was an attempt to pry the Asian money out through terror. Okay? And we have enough proof. The people in the military, the people in the intelligence agencies know this. Okay? And so, yes, they've been threatening war. They've been threatening nastiness. And right now I'm hearing these same rogue actors are planning a nuclear terrorist attack in Europe. Okay? There's still 3 unaccounted for nuclear weapons. And the threats I'm getting directly from people in these rogue agencies. And everyone in the intelligence community is aware of it. I passed on this information to the appropriate parties. I've issued warnings. But I've thought about what they're likely to target, and the targets they might go for would be the Bank for International Settlements in Basel, Switzerland, or they might go after the Vatican, they might go after the City of London Financial District, or La Défense, the French government district, or perhaps the EU headquarters in Brussels. Okay, but I've received these threats, and they're credible, okay? And the evidence is overwhelming, at least if you really look at it, that Japan was attacked. That was not a natural disaster. But having said all that, okay, the fact of the matter is that both the European central banks and the Federal Reserve Board don't have money right now. They're running out. That's why, and this is available in your corporate propaganda news, the U.S. government is looting pensions. It's looting your hard-earned pensions to pay its day-to-day bills. This is a fact. The Europeans, the only people in Europe who save money are the Northern Europeans, the Germans and stuff, and so the Southern Europeans, everyone else is just begging them for money. And they're saying, hey, you retire at 63, we retire at 67, why should we bail you out? Unless, well, why do we work so that you can sit in the sun? And this is the essence of the crisis. People really understand that economics and finance is not difficult. If you think about it, it's just anything to do with the real world. And if it gets out of touch with the real world, it doesn't exist. And that's why I want to get back to this economic planning agency that will start, and it's going to supersede the World Bank and the IMF. It'll become a more important institution, and it'll be based in Asia. And I want to send you the link to a map showing how much chlorophyll there is on the planet Earth, okay? That's plants. And you'll see that most of the planet Earth, including the oceans, is desert. That means we could increase biomass on this planet by at least 100% with proper economic planning. That means you could increase farmland by 4 times simply by turning the deserts green. If you go to all the dead areas of the oceans where there's no plankton because there are no nutrients on the surface, you could increase the amount of fish. You could put nutrients, pump them from the bottom of the ocean to the surface. You could increase nutrients. You could have 10 times more fish. In other words, sensible planning, using humanity's savings in a sensible manner, would allow us to vastly increase the life on this planet, making it all that much more rich and comfortable for everybody. And we could also start doing things like building artificial planets. What's happened until now is that the savings that were going to be used, that could be used for this purpose, were hijacked by a bunch of religious fanatics who you call Zionists, who are planning an artificial end times. They're planning to start World War III. They're diverting it all into giant military adventures that serve no purpose but conquest and slavery. Okay, this is the situation we're dealing with.
Okay, well,
And this, I know it sounds crazy, but it's real. And it's very provable. You know it. It's all there on your pages. Over the years, you can see it. So their plans are very clear.
Their plans to start wars and kill people and profit from it are legendary, and we know that to be a fact. So hang on. We got to take a break just a second.
Yeah.
Be right back in just a few minutes on this Wednesday. Amazing. Wednesday night, the last Wednesday of May already. Okay, hang on. Be back in a minute. Okay, back with Ben Fulford in Tokyo. The story yesterday that they have to move another 70,000 people away from that wrecked plant. In addition to all the others that they've had to move so far, they're living in shelters. Oh my God, what are they going to do with these poor people?
Well, they're going to have to find new homes for them. And that's going to happen. And again, I want to emphasize that there was several housing companies here in Japan that their stock prices rose dramatically in the months prior to the tsunami, like New Japan House and Misawa Home. In other words, in a country where you have a declining population, 3 million empty homes, there's no reason for home price builders' stock to rise suddenly 1 month before a tsunami that no one supposedly predicted, unless they had inside knowledge. But they will be building houses now, lots of them, and they'll be making lots of money. And you have to ask yourself, who owns these shares, who bought them, when did they buy them, why did they buy them, and you'll find the investigative trail leads to certain prosecutors in the Tokyo prosecutor's office. It leads to Senator J. Rockefeller. Okay, I'm willing to put that name out there because we have evidence. It leads to Democratic Party power broker Ichiro Ozawa. Okay, we have people, we have a list, we have intelligence of people who had inside knowledge previous to this tsunami. There was a conversation between Deputy Foreign Minister of the United States, or Secretary of State Kurt Campbell and Ozawa on March 9th, where Campbell told Ozawa, we will call off the prosecutors who are harassing you on bogus charges if you agree to keep the current ruling party in power. And we'll give you the rights to all the zeolite in Fukushima Prefecture. Zeolite, as you know, is used to clean up radioactive waste. This conversation took place on March 9th, 2 days before the tsunami and the attack. And the University of Tokyo detected anomalous, radioactive, or microwave signals associated with HAARP prior to the tsunami, and they stopped immediately after the tsunami and the earthquake. And our best intelligence tells us this was a deliberate attack involving a seabed atomic bomb and scalar magnetic weapons. Okay, and there's evidence is there. This is not some way-out conspiracy stuff. If they want to sue us, we can prove it in court. That's why I guarantee you they won't. Because they know they're going to go to jail. They're not going to get away with this.
If they asked your team to describe and define scientifically what a scalar weapon is, how would they do it?
Well, we would direct them to the treaties signed between the United States and the Soviet Union in the 1970s, which were widely publicized in places like the New York Times and all the other newspapers of the world. And we would direct them to the patents on HAARP that describe how the mechanisms work.
Well, HAARP is not scalar.
Well, HAARP is part of it. HAARP is actually I should actually not harp too much on HAARP because a lot of it is used as disinformation to get us off the real issue, which is essentially seabed nuclear weapons. And this we can prove very clearly and scientifically and in great detail. We even have whistleblowers who were involved in the smuggling of the atomic bomb into Japan. They weren't involved in the actual placing it on the seabed or setting it off, but they were drug smugglers who brought that in with their stuff, okay? And they told us about this. We have their names. They're willing to testify. They're in hiding right now.
Where will
we
they
can get them to court.
Where will they testify, Ben, if they can?
Well, that's the problem, isn't it? When you have the international criminal court or controlled by these people, you're dealing with guys who have been above the law for so long, they thought they could get away with anything forever. And we know who we're talking about. We're talking about Henry Kissinger. We're talking about George Bush Sr. We're talking about David Rockefeller. We're talking about Jay Rockefeller. All of these guys. We know who they are, and they thought that they could get away with this sort of stuff forever. Mass murder, invading countries, massacring civilians, starting wars, and, all this international criminal activity at the highest level. They thought they could get away with it forever. Well, they're not. There's enough of us now, we're disgusted enough, we're angry enough that we're saying, you guys are not going to be able to continue doing this. We're not going to let you run the planet anymore because you're a criminal, you're incompetent, you're pathologically sick, mentally, they're mass murderers. They're sadists, and they're not good at managing the planet. Their answer, they say, we're destroying the environment. That means we have to kill 4 billion people. Well, no. You have to have a proper economic system in place where all the resources aren't being spent on eternal mass slaughter through giant armies. All it takes is $200 billion to end poverty and $400 billion to stop the environmental destruction, and that's equivalent to 1 year's U.S. military spending.
When will we see, in your estimation, the freeing up of alternative technologies, both energy and health? When will this happen?
It's slowly happening. I mean, health is it's gonna have to wait until the mass arrest of pharmaceutical company mass murderers and purging of the American Medical Association and the WHO. We have to get the criminals out of the system. That's gonna take a while, but I'll have to wait until the political change takes place. But the alternative energy is actually started, and this is where we can get back to the subject you wish to talk about, which is Japan. And that is that the nuclear disaster has a silver lining to this cloud, which is that there's a serious debate now, you can see it on the national television broadcasts and newspapers, about the entire business model of centralized energy controlled by monopolies or near monopolies. And there's serious talk of a very clever entrepreneur, Masayoshi Son, who bought Yahoo and was always in the business press. He's thinking of taking over Tokyo Electric Power.
If he takes over TEPCO, is there a substantial move there to shut down 55 nuclear power plants?
Well, yeah, it would mean replacing them with solar energy and all that other stuff over time.
I mean, is there a substantial move in the Parliament?
Yeah, no, this is discussed. He's openly proposed, giant solar farms, for example, in tsunami-stricken region to replace the nuclear power plants. The other thing is, that the business model that actually would work right now is, how they give you like a mobile phone for like $1 or something?
Sure.
It's not really $1. What happens is you pay for it over in installments.
That's right.
You could do the same. You could give everybody a free solar panel, right? And you could say, all right, now from now on you pay us your electricity bill instead of the electricity company. But after 5 years, guess what? You don't have to pay your bill anymore and your electricity's free.
Well, there's so many wonderful alternatives just sitting on the shelf. You're
what happened with this disaster is that
hold that thought, Ben, will you? We have to pause just a second. We'll be right back with more in just a minute.
Drugs that only...
Okay, in Tokyo, Ben Fulford, the head of TEPCO stepped down last week, I guess. No big surprise there. So, how is the government holding up under increasing public outrage about its policies of not telling the truth, the full truth, about the extent of the disaster at Fukushima?
Well, the thing is that the public here is kind of docile and obedient to the corporate or to the government media or the government-controlled media. So you just don't see a lot of panic here. Okay, people are. It's like during World War II, they read in the newspapers about a great victory at Midway. So I can honestly say there's not a lot of anger here among the people.
So you're saying that the media is covering this up to the extent that the people really don't have a good grip on the dynamics
involved?
The
media is putting it out in a rather calm manner based on facts, and they do report a lot about it, but they put a positive spin on it, and there's a general, people have to go on with their lives, and they're not in a state of fear or panic, which is what I believe was the desired result of this attack.
I think what I was suggesting is that they're beginning to show anger. I don't know how widespread it is, but the government has raised the annual millisievert allowable limits for children to 20 a year, which is way over the limit, and the people are not happy about that. So I'm wondering how much anger there is.
The people, I mean, again, the government support rate is low, but it's always been low, and yet nothing seems to change here. But I talk to people, and what they do is they take personal action. For example, when the government said that it was safe to drink the water except for babies, well, everybody in the whole city of Tokyo stopped drinking tap water. And in the same way, they're going to accept their own safety limits. But the debate is very rational and calm here, and what you find is that, and this is a fact, that the people involved in